Alright, good morning or afternoon, Sophia and Ruby and Mommy. Going to continue with The Green Princess Saves the Day, chapters 5 and 6. So I hope you're ready. Because after this next video, it's going to be out of Sophia's favorite book, the Disney Christmas book. Alright, so chapter 5, The Evil Queen. "Don't look at me," Taylor said. "Grace painted that word." "I did not," Grace said. "You did it." Taylor and Grace started to argue. Holly felt terrible. Her friends were fighting, and her whole plan was ruined. "It's not so bad," Anna said in a small voice, patting Holly's arm. "Yeah," Zachary agreed. "Maybe nobody will notice." Holly shook her head. "We have to go home." Tweet, tweet, tweet. Holly heard the little bluebird before she saw him. She landed on a nearby tree branch. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The bird's pretty song made Holly feel better. It was almost like he was telling her not to be upset. She looked at the sign again. Zachary's tree was nice, and Anna had painted some very pretty flowers. "You're right," she told them, grinning. "The sign is fine. The park has trees, and trees have bark. So if we save the park, we'll save the bark, too. Let's march." Jessica let her hair hang in front of her face so that none of her friends would recognize her. Then they all began to march down the park path. "Save the park! Save the park!" Holly chanted. Zachary, Grace, and Taylor joined in. Anna's face turned bright red. As they marched down the main park path, a man walking a poodle came towards them. "Save the bark?" he asked. "Are you trying to save dogs?" "No, we're trying to save the park," Holly explained. The man shook his head. "I'm confused." Next, they marched past two white-haired ladies on a park bench. "Oh, look," one of the ladies said. "How cute, they're playing a game." Holly stopped. "It's not a game. We're trying to save the park." "But your sign says save the bark," the woman noted. "Right," Holly said, nodding firmly. "We did that on purpose. We wanted to save the trees in the park, and trees have bark." As they marched on, more people were confused by what they were doing. A few people asked them about the sign. They seemed interested to learn what was happening to the park. Soon it was time to head back home. Back at Holly's house, her friends' parents were waiting to pick them up. "Bye," Holly said. "See you tomorrow." Holly spotted her mom's car in the driveway. She ran inside, dragging the sign behind her. "Mom, look," she called. "We had a parade in the park. We're spreading the word." Holly skidded to a stop in the kitchen. Oh, this page had a picture. Back to it. Save the bark. Her mom was watching the small TV that sat on the counter. On the screen, Mayor Morgan was talking into a microphone. Mayor Morgan had shiny black hair that was slicked into a bun on the back of her head. She had a thin face and bright blue eyes. Holly thought she looked like an evil queen in a fairy tale. "A new shopping center is just what Maple Grove needs," she was saying. "Not many people use Peterson Park, but everyone needs to shop." "That's not fair," Holly cried. "Lots of people use the park." Holly's mom put an arm around her. "It's good that the story is on the news. More people will hear about this anyway." "Don't worry. We'll keep trying," she said. "Now why don't you help me make dinner?" And after she ate, Holly went to her room. She put on her flower headband and tried to think. If Mayor Morgan was like an evil queen, only a princess could stop her. Thanks to princess power, they had spread the word around the park. But that wasn't good enough. Holly knew they needed more princess power. If Mayor Morgan didn't think enough to people use the park, they had to do something really fun. Something lots of people would come to. Holly jumped up. "I know." She ran out of her room. "Mom, Mom," she yelled. "What is it?" Miss Greenwood asked, as Holly found her in the kitchen. "I have the best idea," she said. Miss Green, the mayor, talking on the news. "We have to do it this Saturday before it's too late." "Do what?" her mom asked. "A picnic," she said. "We need to have a princess picnic in the park." Chapter 6. muddy princesses. Uh-oh. This is going to be the best princess picnic ever, Holly said, looking around the park and smiling. Are you sure you don't want to move to the picnic area? Asked Aunt Amy. We could use the tables there. I'm sure, Holly replied. Under the willow tree is the perfect place. Holly's mom had to work, so she couldn't come to the princess picnic, but Holly didn't want to wait, so Aunt Amy had agreed to help. Aunt Amy was the younger sister of Holly's mom. She was shorter than Miss Greenwood, with lots of curly hair. Today, she wore a long green skirt with a puffy white blouse. A yellow flower pecked out from her curls. Holly thought she looked just like a real princess. Holly had dressed up for the picnic, too. She wore her flower headband in her hair, of course, and her favorite green skirt with the ruffles on the bottom. On top, she wore a tie-dye t-shirt that Aunt Amy had helped her make. It had green swirls on it, and in glitter it said, Save the Park. It is pretty here, Aunt Amy agreed. She looked up at the sky. I just don't like those clouds. I hope it doesn't rain. It won't, Holly said firmly. Nothing was going to ruin her princess picnic. At that moment, the bluebird flew to the raspberry bush nearby and began to sing a happy song. See, Holly said, the bluebird knows it's not going to rain. Aunt Amy smiled. I like your attitude, Holly, she said. Now let's set up this picnic. Holly helped Aunt Amy spread out a big green picnic blanket. They unpacked a cooler with lots of treats to eat. Earlier that morning, Aunt Amy had mixed up a big thermos of sparkling green punch. Holly's mom had made a bunch of tiny, tasty cucumber and cream cheese sandwiches, and Holly had even made something all by herself, magical fruit wands. She cut up pieces of strawberries and bananas and stuck them on straws to make delicious princess wands. Zachary arrived while Holly and Aunt Amy were setting up. Hi, he said. Is it time to eat? Zachary, you're always hungry, Holly said, giggling. She looked at her friend. What are you supposed to be? Zachary was wearing 2 rectangles of cardboard covered in aluminum foil. The rectangles were connected by strings that went over his shoulders. He held a cardboard sword covered with aluminum foil, too. I am Sir Zachary, the Knight of Peterson Park, he announced, waving his sword in the air. And Amy picked up her green skirt and curtsied. Nice to meet you, Sir Zachary, she said. If you're not too busy slaying dragons, maybe you can help us set up the games. Zachary bowed. At your service. Before long, the rest of the princesses started showing up. Grace and Taylor came first. Grace wore a pink dress and a sparkly princess crown. Taylor wore a purple dress with the heart on the front. Oh, Holly, it's so pretty here, Taylor said. I've never been to this part of the park, Grace added. I usually just go on the swings. Almost all the girls from Holly's class came to the princess picnic. Fruit wands, the fruit wands. With their moms and dads, lots of the girls dressed like princesses. Anna had on a pretty white sundress. Holly was happy to see everyone, but something was bothering her. There should be more people here, she said. We need lots and lots of people to get Mayor Morgan's attention. Zachary shrugged. Maybe not everybody likes princesses, he said. Or maybe they're afraid it will rain, said Taylor, looking at the sky. It is not going to rain, Holly insisted. Aunt Amy made an announcement. Okay, everyone, it's game time. Everyone gathered around Aunt Amy. Holly saw that Anna stayed back by the tree. Holly ran over and grabbed her hand. Come on, it'll be fun, she said. Aunt Amy knows the best games. First, they played a game like hot potato, except they used a stuffed frog. They sat in a circle and passed the frog to each other until Aunt Amy yelled, Ribbit! The person holding the frog had to leave the circle. They kept going until one person was left. Grace won. Then they searched for treasure that Aunt Amy and Zachary had hidden around the park earlier. The girls cheered every time they found a shiny fake jewel or a gold coin. In the end, Aunt Amy counted to see who found the most. Anna is the winner, she announced. Anna blushed bright red. Holly couldn't wait for the next game. A castle-shaped piñata hung from the branch of an oak tree. But Aunt Amy was peering up at the sky. Dark clouds covered every spot of blue. I think we should eat now, she said. She sounded worried. Holly looked over at the raspberry bush. The bluebird wasn't there anymore. It won't rain, Holly said to herself. It will not rain. The princesses and Zachary sat on the picnic blanket. They ate sandwiches and fruit wands and drank sparkly punch. While they ate, Aunt Amy talked to the moms and dads about the park. Isn't this a great picnic? Holly asked. It sure is, Zachary said. Maybe we can have a big party next. Then a rumbling sound rolled across the park. It's thunder, Taylor squealed. No, Holly cried. It can't rain. But it did, and it happened fast. Clouds opened up and dumped buckets of rain down on the park. The girls laughed and screamed as they jumped up from the picnic blanket. Quick, let's pack everything up, Aunt Amy yelled. Everyone pitched in. They rolled up the picnic blanket, their shoes squished on the muddy ground. Then Holly remembered the castle piñata. It was going to be ruined if they didn't get it out of the tree quickly. The piñata, she shouted. Zachary ran to grab it and slipped in the mud. He went down with a splash. Help, he yelled. Grace and Taylor ran to grab his arms and pick him up, but they both slipped in a muddy patch too. My new dress, Taylor cried. Grace started to giggle. What's so funny? Taylor yelled. Holly couldn't believe it. The princess picnic should have been the best picnic in the world, but the castle piñata was ruined, the sandwiches were soggy, and all of the princesses were wet and muddy. How am I supposed to save the park now? Holly wondered. All right, girls, to be continued. Next, we'll do chapter 7 and 8. I love you all. It's been almost a month since I've been gone, and I hope y'all are doing well. I know y'all are. We'll talk soon. We'll keep FaceTiming, and I'll keep sharing videos and sending y'all pictures, and should be getting a letter pretty soon, hopefully. All right, I love y'all.